I'm live streaming.
Plus, got a new paint job. It's gonna be red in color.
A new paint job. Awesome. Natchitoches Sheriff. All right, let me turn up the volume. I'm going to let it interrupt me. What the heck? So here I'm taking the time to discuss my strategy for how I'm going to interview or examine the witnesses. Now, this is strategy that cannot be shared with my prosecutor, so uh, yeah, they probably don't really watch this channel as much. The other channel gets more attention. So David Bruce, hello. So like I said on my other channel, good morning Zepton and Richard Gerald, I had that hearing on Wednesday, and then I got to see. It was supposed to be a trial, but the prosecutor screwed up, but still had the audacity to say, "We're ready to go." And he was really adamant. He was like, he had some energy behind saying that. We're ready to go. And I could see the judge smiling when he said that. We're ready to go. You should run. He whispered that one. You should run. And I'm like, what? And I looked at him and he's like, you should run. I should. I would like to. But he's like, he wants to put this monkey on my back. We're ready to go. You should run. Submitting evidence 2 days before the trial. And yeah, I mean, the judge said it's not, he probably doesn't, he thinks it's probably not going to be used, but still, what was it? I mean, I want to take the time still, even if it's not worth anything. Oh, excuse me. I got this problem. I noticed it improved when I was laying on my back and using my yoga blocks. I used 4 yoga blocks to straighten out my back on the ground off in the distance. You running would be the perfect solution for them. Yeah. You got to check out their protest rules.
Pipeline right away. If it is on her property, she wishes to have it towed, she can call a record company and have them remove it for her. I see a neighbor next door. I'm going to walk over there and see if he knows anything about it.
A pipeline? Somebody's parked on a pipeline? So this is a line of questioning that I've come up with. I may or may not use them. Your running would be, yeah, all right. And so let's go over them. Now I put them on my iPad, my tablet here. Yeah, and once again, I'll just say my throat. It's like, it's bad when I'm sitting like this. All right, it's now getting worse again. But I actually noticed an improvement when I was laying on my back doing the yoga with the blocks. Because what I do is I tighten up my back against holding the blocks above my head to the side. And it brings relief. If they want him out of town, they can drop the fantasy. I know, they don't want me out of town. They would drop the charges. I mean, use some logic here. Use some court logic, all right? Do you want me out of town? Yes. Are you dropping the charges? No. That doesn't make sense. It's a double, what do they say? A double, not a double standard, like a double statement, like a... It's a backhanded statement or something like that. But I saw that Officer Davis showed up on Wednesday. The Officer Davis was double-edged sword. There you go. Wow, you're smarter than me, Trish. So I saw Officer Davis a double-edged sword. And Davis showed up, and he was the only one. So that concerns me. He's clearly... I mean, I appreciate that we had this, like, it was all set up. Everybody thought it was going to go. We're going to have a trial on Wednesday. And, well, even the prosecutor after submitting evidence on Monday. But I'm like, I don't want to jump into anything too stupid. I mean, this is all pretty dumb. But and I want to leave, but I also want to go into this cautiously too. They bit off a bigger bite than they want to chew, and I hope they choke on it. Did they? I don't know. They don't seem that bothered to me. They seem fine. They're handling their business like they do every other day with everybody else. There's no real major difference here. And they're adaptable. No city can just be overwhelmed by one person. I mean, it's impossible. They just have to adapt. That's all. It's not like they have to shut down. They adapt. They don't shut down. But I saw Officer Davis, and that was nice to have that revelation, to see him. He wasn't there about 5 minutes, I think. And I wouldn't have seen him had I not walked into that alley to ask them if they were arresting me. There was kind of a benefit to my troll telling me that I was going to get arrested after Wednesday's hearing, because I was freaking out, asking everybody, "Are you going to arrest me?" I asked the constables, I asked my prosecutor, I asked the cops who showed up, "Are you guys going to arrest me?" And they're like, "Dude, you're running yourself ragged. You're making yourself paranoid." And it sounded truthful, because Monday, 2 days before, Prosecutor Benjamin was talking about giving me a felony about witness intimidation or something. I mean, yeah, he didn't rush into it for Wednesday. He could still do it, but still, it made sense on Wednesday, because I've had that happen before. They want you to freak out. Yeah, they did a good job of that. And I'm sure that'll happen again for April 11th too, in some way. You better try something else, troll. You better give a different statement, because I'm not falling for the same one. So it's happened before in North Dakota. Williams County. Oh my goodness, I just suddenly can't think of the city name. It's enough time has passed where now, and I've repeated it a lot. North Dakota. For some reason I want to say Williams or Williamsburg. I don't know. My memory's going out on me. Williston. Why? Williams. It's sometimes my memory goes out on me. Yeah, it's Williston. Yeah, that's happened where I sat in court, and I saw these two cops sitting next to me, looking like they don't even notice me. And I was wondering why they were there. It seemed a little excessive force, excessive security. Oh yeah, and then the first arrest was the tackling, but that second arrest was a surprise. Right after court, they had the arrest warrant right there. They could have gone and arrested me right in court, but instead they patiently waited until after I pleaded not guilty to Judge Wilder. And then as I was walking out, they're like, "Hey, you're under arrest. Do you now censor comments that are violent and too?" I don't censor nothing. YouTube censors it. Let the YouTube police handle it. And they're using, like, in this comment section. Now I can only see two comments right now, so it's like on this small screen. I'm very limited. I can't really be too engaged. And they're not running too fast right now, but the comments, I don't monitor the comments, and more people can get away with harsher things in the comment section on a live stream. And the prosecutor originally gave exhibits A through D, and then later I got A through D exhibits on Friday, and then on Monday he brought in E, which he said he got it over the weekend. I got some more evidence, and he took a screenshot of the comment section on the live stream that I did, I don't know, Saturday or something, and there was some guy who had his name cops are clowns, and they were making some aggressive statements. And that's the weird thing is I didn't see those comments because I got I got this screen. Nobody ever bother you on Kingston. In Philadelphia. And his comments looked like they were on the right, so he was watching the live stream on like a laptop, I think, because that's where comments tend to show up, is on the right side. But on my Samsung S9 phone, the comments are on the left side, and I don't think I can change that and put it on the right side. So what he took for a screenshot was like 8, 9 comments. He was able to get a good chunk of comments because he was on his laptop, and he was able to see. I can only see 2 or 3. I can only see 2 comments right now. Are you serious about getting? No, I'm not serious about getting a public defender. They don't accept misdemeanor charges. So I'm at a loss for the Exhibit E. I don't even have a copy of Exhibit E. It's just kind of shown in court, submitted to the judge. I got a glance at it, so I can't even show it to everybody to give the commenters some notoriety here. Maybe I could ask the clerks for a copy. I'm not sure. You're not responsible for other people's comments or actions. Yeah, and I didn't make any comments because I guess, and I didn't see any picture of me, so I don't even know if it was my live stream. I don't know how you can associate it with me. I made none of those comments. I didn't see what the live stream was. He didn't even get a full shot of the screen, only the comment section. It's not like this, all right? The comments actually like block me from seeing myself. Comments are on your right on your Samsung. Well, what Samsung? I got a Samsung S9, and it only shows comments on my left. Gaming says, can they charge you for intimidating the witnesses when you have not intimidated? Yeah, they could charge me for failing to ID when I ID'd. So argue you could have altered it since he got it out for you. Yeah, Clyde Benjamin. He's really got an agenda here. He wants to make an example out of me. Sam sings. So I have some arguments to make here. Galaxy's G10. I think that's a budget phone, right? I try to, and I'm interested in getting the Samsung S22. Man, those look nice. To have just for the camera. I don't have a phone plan right now. I'm able to access a building's Wi-Fi, a special building, and it's working fine. It's been working. A war on the homeless. Yeah, they're declaring war on homeless people in they want to, I guess they want to call it the Deep South. I guess, is Texas a Deep South? Because I don't know. It's so different from Texas. Yeah, the budget phone, the Galaxies. Yeah, I thought so. The Cloyd ain't seen nothing yet. So I guess the further east you go, the deeper south you go in a way. But I mean, I've been to where Selena died, Corpus Christi. I've been south of Corpus Christi, Texas. That's pretty deep south. And they want to call themselves Deep South. Maybe they mean deep as in deep in the waters, not so much deep towards the equator south. Because I've been deep south. I know the south. I know the southern border from California through to Texas and a little bit of Louisiana, but I'm not getting much experience in Louisiana looking around now. I don't really. As soon as I can get a case closed, I'm going north back into Arkansas straight up. Yeah, Texas has that border, so there's so much culture going back and forth. So they're not so stagnant. Like, I would call it the stagnant South. Texas has a deep South. They got the grackles, they got the border people cross, and there's more culture there. Here it's stagnant, so they're experiencing a different kind of flavor, a different kind of living. I was homeless before the corona. Yeah, homeless for almost 10 years. Stagnant South. It's a deep waters, deep stagnant waters of the swamp, stagnant swamps or bayous, whatever you want to call them.
North Carolina trailer tag.
Yeah, Sitting like this is tough on my throat. Constantly burping and stuff, and it's tough to deal with. All right, so what am I going to ask for questions here? Let's get to the strategy of my case. Would I be doing this? Is this a good idea? Okay, so Officer Davis is their star witness. He's not the only one I want. Yeah, I got the hiatal hernia and a bad acid reflux. This is going to turn into cancer. And the stress is definitely not helping. And I'm getting blamed for stinking, and it's like part of the problem is the stress. I'm putting out a lot of just a lot of bad. I get a lot of bad stress, and it's causing different chemical reactions in my body, in my throat, which is causing bad breath, and on my skin too. It's unusual for my normal constitution. But I mean, what are you gonna do?
446.0.
So I asked Officer Davis, "What is your name? May I see some ID to confirm that? Do you know my name? Would you like to see my ID?" To start it out, you can help me when you get there. You don't need to come down. Will I ask these questions or not? That's the question. I got some options to think about. How far do I want to go? How quickly do I want this over with? See, the thing is, it's just like I have some experience with court trials, but not like this. This is different. I'm actually entering a trial. And maybe it is that the South likes to have trials more. They're definitely let's see. They have a set of rules. They have rules that encourage trials on low-level offenses. They have statutes that encourage having trials without as many checks and balances as the North or just other states. They're more keen on entering into trials because you don't get a public defense, you don't get a lawyer, you don't get a free lawyer, and you don't get a chance at a jury. No lawyer, no jury for sentences of 6 months or less. You have to fight. You have to practice. If you're poor, you got to fight it yourself. And they put up a big fight. I've gone through what? How many? 4 hearings now. Trying to fend off these bloodsuckers, and the fifth ultimate hearing coming up with my trial. That's just what they do. They wanna make it they push. They push for a real different kind of justice here. When have you been in a trial? Yeah, I've never been in a trial. I've always been able to get the case dismissed on legal grounds. Let's see, I don't even know what the first back in Idaho City, Idaho is where the courthouse was. It was settled between my pre-lawyer and the prosecutor. I don't even know what, like my lawyer wrote a motion to suppress evidence, and the prosecutor just accepted it. And then in Root County, Colorado, that the prosecutor just kind of dismissed it and said she dismissed it with prejudice so that it could be brought up again later. So I got a case out of Root County, Colorado over a very similar issue that they could bring up again, I guess, but probably not for Louisiana, only for their jurisdiction. And and then Sue Bethany get Transit Connect City or what's a Transit Connect City? Is that a bus service? And then Williston, I just had the case dismissed, and the prosecutor was sanctioned, but I had a lawyer. They fought me for the first 6 months, and it just nothing. It was going nowhere the first 6 months. I had my motions filed, but no decisions. And then another 6 months, and I finally got it dismissed. And then what? Yeah, it was instant with Bethany, Missouri. Yeah, I don't know why these prosecutors have to go on such an attack. It seems like it's they have some kind of motivation. I mean, they're trained. They're all trained the same, pretty much. They all have the same standards to follow. It's just each one is different. It's a personality thing, like the cops. Why do the cops have to arrest me? Not all cops arrest me, but it's like, so far with cops, I say in my 100+ experiences, it's about 5%, right? I've gotten arrested 5 times out of over 100, so that's about 5% they'll actually arrest me. 5 out of 20. When a court dismisses an action, they can either do so with, yeah, and I'm okay with prejudice. I mean, whatever. Bring it up later. I won't be here. The cities I get arrested in, I never want to return. Anyway, all right. That's you're just marking yourself as a place to avoid. Dismissal means, yeah. Oh, wait. What are you saying? With prejudice. I want with prejudice. Dismissal with prejudice means that the plaintiff cannot refile the same. Oh, I mean without prejudice. My bad. Yeah, that's the prosecutor likes without prejudice, so they get a little win there. Do you expect YouTube to step up if this goes bad? Yeah, no, there's nobody gonna step up on this. I got to take it as it is. It's a learning process, and sometimes the best way is to push. You got to push the system to learn. If I just give in and plead guilty, I learn nothing. All right, I want to know what they're thinking, and if that means I have to go to jail for that, then so be it. I want to know what they're thinking, and then I can share that with the public, and let the public know where their heads are at. All right. If I have to take the hit to learn for something like this, I'll do it. It's a learning process, but it's like, yeah, what, 5 out of 20 cops have, or 5 out of 100 cops have actually arrested me. But wow, the ratio of lawyers trying to sink their teeth, or of prosecutors trying to sink their teeth into me, is very high. Like, it's a small chance for the cops. It's kind of a small chance for the cops to go through with an arrest and complaint, throw you in jail and all that. But it's a higher chance the prosecutor just wants to go with it, run with it. And, what is it? Yeah, all of them have kind of run with. Well, this is my first trial, so this is number one. I mean, the other prosecutors have taken a couple of months. Actually, my first like arrest was in Meridian, Idaho. I got a disorderly conduct, but this cop did not want to take me to jail for that. He just gave me the charge. You got disorderly conduct. Now get out of here. That was it. You know, that was something that he could have taken me to jail for. And so I kind of fought that. That wasn't one that I fought. That was like one of my first ones. The serious charges in my travels was in Meridian, Idaho, and the cops were giving me a hard time on my channel. This channel, actually, this is the channel that I was complaining about, Meridian, Idaho. You could look it up. If you type in Meridian, Idaho, Travis Heinze, you could find that. Those videos. I spent a lot of, in Boise, Idaho, I spent a lot of time arguing. Let's see, people argue religious. Spending too much time arguing belief. Okay. Yeah, it's just some people like to stay in their comfortable zones. What are you going to do when they impound your car and sell it while you're in jail? Yeah, they could sell it. So, yeah, my first arrest was in Meridian. Took a couple of months. I was taking advantage of some nice food banks there. Surprisingly nice. And it's been a long time since I found decent food banks around here. The west half of the country seems pretty decent. Oregon, California, pretty decent for food banks and soup kitchens. I think they get a little worse in places like this, Louisiana. I haven't really looked though. But yeah, what the punishment was out of Meridian, Idaho was I spent 6 hours community service. It started out as 12 hours. The prosecutor, because I had a public defender. I, all units 10-8, 1976. Okay, so I had a public defender, and he comes back. They didn't even seem to. I never seen the judge. It was just the prosecutor and my public defender talking in a private room, and I just stood in the hallway, and the public defender came to me and said, "Okay, this is what the prosecutor." He said the prosecutor didn't even look at my case. All right, he didn't even look at my case, and he just kind of threw out 12 hours community service. Um, and I'm like, okay, why not 6 hours? And my public defender is like, yeah, I was thinking that too. So he goes back to the prosecutor and is like 6 hours, and the prosecutor agreed. I agreed. I'm like, whatever, I'll do 6 hours community service. I didn't have to pay any money, so that was it. I spent 6 hours like helping out at a local food bank warehouse in Boise, Idaho. Yeah, it was a little annoying. I wanted to get out of there, but I needed to stick around to do the 6 hours. Took care of it, and then left. And as soon as I got, yeah, I could have really. This is in 2016 when I really didn't know much about rights. There was no talk about a First Amendment audit issue. It was more like PNAC, photography is not a crime. I vaguely heard about those guys in 2016, but not First Amendment audit stuff. That's so new. But as soon as I left the city, I stopped in Horseshoe Bend. I'm like, I'm going north. I'm going to start looking in the mountains. And I stop in Horseshoe Bend, Idaho, spend a day hanging out at the library and then bicycling around. And I spent the night, and then the next day, and then at the end of that day, the cop showed up, officer or Deputy McIntosh, and demanded my ID, and I challenged that. I challenged the ID thing in Meridian, Idaho, in the parking lot of that Lowe's, but with more practice, I challenged it more. I asked for his ID, he asked for my ID, and so he arrested me. Quickly arrested me. I mean, it's not unlike what these guys did. Every time it comes down to ID, they feel like they're being challenged over ID. It's a very quick arrest for some of these for some of these egotistical cops. They don't want to explain themselves. They just want it's like if I don't give ID, then they have to arrest me immediately. They feel like they've lost control of the situation, because when they have the ID in their hands, then they feel like I can't go anywhere because I can't leave without my ID. That's a detainment. And if they don't have the ID, then they feel like they've lost control. And some have put me in handcuffs because they feel like they've lost control or something, and that's a way to get it back. That I guess it's, even though most people tend not to run, I probably look like a runner, like somebody who's gonna run. So they have to work harder to feel like they're more in control of the situation or something. But yeah, that was so frustrating. I mean, I just finished up the community service in Boise, Idaho, and just start going, happy to leave the city, and then I get the Horseshoe Bend, the first city north of Boise, and get arrested in a couple of days. And then he drove me all the way back to Boise, back to the jail, the Ada County jail, where I spent the weekend. I'm like, he's driving me back into Boise, but this time I had to sit in jail and then find a way after I was released, a way to get out. That was awful. It was roughly 26 miles, almost 30 miles. It must be crazy because you're not scared of them. Yeah, it's a fear thing. You gotta show them a little fear. Like, please don't hurt me, but I don't want to give you my ID. I gotta cower in fear, but also enforce my ID, my Fourth Amendment rights too. I can't look aggressive and enforce my Fourth Amendment rights, because that'll really cause more conflict. But yeah, I had to find a way back. I was so happy to get out of jail on Monday, after sitting there all weekend. And Williston is in Williams County. What would you do if they provided you with ID? If the cops gave me ID, yeah, I would record it. So I've recorded a couple of cops' IDs. So yeah, I leave Boise, and in a couple of days get a new criminal charge, just failure to ID. So how similar is Idaho's ID law to Louisiana? Because I got charged failure to ID, and my public defender wrote that argument, motion to suppress, which seemed to just worked. Motion to suppress, making all those arguments. I've recorded it. So I think you could just find it by typing in motion to suppress Travis Heinze, something like that, on this channel. And then yeah, it was just like it got settled. I just kind of, I don't know, I got a piece of paper from the clerks at Idaho City. That shows that the case is dismissed by the prosecutor. That was it. Yeah, asking for ID is probably the point of detainment. They would consider that the detainment, because they're trying to keep you there, and by holding on to your ID, that you can't really go anywhere without it, right? You're kind of like it's an anchor. How long do you think you can live like this? Well, I've taken a
patrol the area of Highway 153 near Morgan Quick Road.
This situation is really worn away at my throat. So I mean,
white male, 6 foot, probably wearing light colored clothing. Again, that's Highway 153 near Morgan Quick Road.
All right. Yeah, this is worn away at my throat at a faster rate than I think a normal aging process. All this worrying and stress. So it's I think it's shortened my life. It continues to shorten my life. I mean, it's not over. Reasonable articulable suspicion, articulation of a crime requiring ID. Yeah, and maybe they'll finally explain it in court. It's like, I mean, they've made their arguments. It's like, can their strategy be to try to bring in different new arguments? I mean, you'd think the arguments would be up front already. That's what the prosecutor's standing on. Or did they just find another step stool to stand on that they want to surprise me with in court and trial? People, the trolls say that there's new stuff, new ground that the prosecutor is going to stand on at trial to surprise me with. I don't know. That's the thing. That's what gets my curiosity. I'm like, is this really how Louisiana courts work? And it's a learning process, and I'm learning that they'll bring, the prosecutor will just suddenly reveal evidence 2 days before my trial. They'll do that here. So that's something I'd like to warn other people of. especially with Cloyd Benjamin. I mean, that's the guy. Who's doing it. But I mean, other prosecutors can and will do it too. Use experienced prosecution like Travis. Eventually, had to miss a court date. They just kept changing dates. Yeah, the court dates is something they just keep pumping down or handing out to people until you miss them. It's really, it doesn't work for the working class. They love to pick on the take advantage of the working class because they can get enough court dates in to they can get you to slip up. It's a law of averages, right? I have 4 court dates, and I mean, anybody who's working, man, that's 4 days you gotta reschedule. Imagine if you're working at night too or something. It's you just have a really screwy schedule in some way. It's tough to deal with. They love people who are working. They love people who have a set schedule that they can screw with, and then it forces the worker to have to heavily weigh what's more important, maintaining their work schedule and paying the charge. They make you nervous for years about such bogus charges. I ended up paying a $100 fine for 15 years of looking over my shoulder. Yeah. So when did the arrest actually happen? It must have happened upon. Yeah, it's like the point where he asked for ID is probably the detainment part. That they might say that, and then the arrest is clear. But the intention of the cops to get the detention was there with the ID issue, but my response about being detained, I didn't understand it. It wasn't.
About stolen items from a grave site on Hart Road. Natchitoches Court, banned asphalt and rock yard. That's Daniel Wyatt.
Stolen items from a gravesite. Meant to tell you you're detained before. Yeah, it's if declining to give ID is resisting, then the arrest must have been in the asking. Yeah, it's all in the ID. They didn't want to be on camera for very long. They didn't want to be sitting here looking stupid, looking dumber than they already looked. The less time you spend looking stupid, the better for your
Trauma 6 package. We're gonna be out at NRMC.
the better for your public image. The less time you have looking stupid on the camera, the better it is for your public image. That's their logic. But if you all you need is a few seconds to look stupid, and then people, you know, it doesn't matter. Once you start looking stupid, you might as well just stay on camera.
It's 3 Hotel Alpha Echo. Uniform. Mike.
They're trained.
7 November Lima 198474.
These cops are trained like Marines, all right? Look confident, even if you're making a bad decision. At least act confident that while you're making that bad decision. Attorney would squash this immediately. Well, who's gonna be the attorney? I don't see you defending anyone's rights. You just hassle librarians in a small town. Conservative? Is Louisiana conservative? I don't know. I have to do research on that. I don't really know the politics so well. But I'm thinking that yeah, any cops pulling in to deliver food? They got some kind of police substation at this library on the 3rd floor. All right. I don't understand what's going on, but I'm constantly seeing Chief Winters and Lieutenant Williams going in. Sometimes they'll take the police vehicle, sometimes they'll take their personal vehicle. So right there, it's like, could the cops be delivering to the other cops? But I mean, I've recorded who 2 out of the 3 times I've recorded who the cops have delivered to, and I don't think they're delivering to cops. But there's like a substation at this library that's really curious. It boggles the mind. I bought 2 oranges. by one orange. Either
Three.
the clerk seemed to know. You bought and you gave. Did you give your other orange to the clerk? So, yeah, the failure to ID was in Idaho. That was the only charge in Idaho. It took about 2.5 months for my public defender to get that dropped. I chose, what did I choose? I probably chose jury trial. They didn't know about any videos. I don't believe the prosecutor seemed to be completely unaware of any videos I was making, and I mean, I was posting. I posted the arrest video. Did the prosecutor know about it? I don't know. There was no mention in court. Like this court, it's like at every hearing, 4 hearings, every hearing, there's mention of my videos. But back in 2016, when arrested, when I was going to court at Idaho City, there was no mention of videos, and I had one hearing, and then I guess I didn't need to show up for the second. When you do pro se, you got to show up for all your hearings. When you're denied a public defender, you got to show up at all your hearings instead of the public defender doing that for you. So the same charge, but different circumstances. The difference between 2016 and 2022 and the technology and how it's advanced. YouTube was a lot different. I had different cameras. I had the cheap little iPod 5, and it can't focus while recording. It was okay, but the battery life was pretty bad.
They possibly living in a house there before the Parish Line on 71. I haven't had a chance to make it out to 788 yet. 787 is mothership.
So
the word I got was just past Key Store, what I was told.
Yeah, I don't know how Idaho is for the ID law. I mean, I got charged that as my primary charge, and I don't recall seeing how. I don't recall in the arguments that my public defender argued that ID was a secondary charge and it should be dropped or something. He didn't make those arguments. He made more arguments about community caretaking. How the arresting cop went above and beyond community caretaking. This launched into an investigation immediately upon contact. So he didn't argue when seizure occurred, but he said that this is beyond community caretaking, and it was just a simple call of a librarian asking the cop to check up on me, just like here. But it's turned into, yes, a lot worse here. I mean, even as I was waiting for my criminal trial in Idaho City, I was recording around. The locals are getting stirred up and angry at me for using my camera because it's so offensive. They seem to have nothing to do in this little precinct. Wondering how many are okay. How can you be sovereign and citizen? Yeah. How do you get a sovereign army together if they're all going to be sovereigns? You can never have a sovereign army because they all want to do their own thing. They'll never come together and form a unit to work together to achieve agendas. It's all scattered, so they get picked off one by one. That's what's so funny about it is you sit and you watch each individual sovereign citizen get picked off one by one by the court system, by the legal system, the legal procedures, because they're all just trying to stand up for themselves as these honorable individuals in themselves, and it's a Don Quixote approach to life. You're just going to use this honorable way of living and expect people to respect that. But I mean, look at Genghis Khan. He was able to get people together, to form units that were strong and work together and were close, and you send these units off to conquer other countries. You don't conquer countries as individuals, but that's individualism. Individualism is a part of the European culture, not so much in the Asian cultures though. There's different approaches to life. The whole world is an open air prison. Yeah, in a way. The call did not identify anything close to a crime. Yeah, that's not even anything to discuss. That's a difficult part. Like, I heard a lawyer on YouTube say that the hardest part of a trial is cross-examination. But maybe he sees objections as easy. I'm not sure. I'll have to look at my poll. But objections, yeah, both objections and cross-examination look difficult. I have to sit here and listen to the prosecutor and identify what could be objectionable, and I guess if we're gonna keep a theme, he's going to go first. So if we're going to keep a theme, I'm going to want to object to everything that has nothing. I'm gonna have to reject to everything that's like not relevant, irrelevant. That's objection irrelevant. It has to be relevant to the points, to the arrest. It has to be relevant to the arrest. I don't want to hear anything about what the librarians were imagining. The description, I don't even care about the description. It's irrelevant. Let's get to the point.
Criminal history with the picture and ID is there. I located a picture.
She located a picture. Good job. The hard part isn't objecting to it's a DA objecting to you. Well, I think I'll keep my questions clean and easy. Like, I may try this.
Highway 509, interior motion, subject is out of town, request the officer check it out.
Do you ever communicate a crime before you demand ID? Do you ever communicate a crime before you... Officer Miller, do you ever communicate a crime before you demand ID? And then if he says yes, okay, what is the crime that I committed? Do you keep a pad and pen on your person? None of these cops pulled a pad and pen out. Okay, they had to keep their hands free for arresting me. Back in Hayden, Colorado, they were like the officer John Kragar. You can't believe the cops have no body cam footage of their talk to the librarian in the parking lot. Well, okay, Dan, it happened so fast. That's why you didn't see it. It's like you blink and you miss the conversation. It was half. The cops probably recorded half the conversation. Really, they may have they purposely done that. They love turning those cameras off as soon as they can. They don't just keep a camera running around here. They want to turn it off and be quick about it, and turn it on at the last minute. It's a timing issue with these cops. But even on camera, they still make some bad mistakes. Calling me Mr. Claiborne and searching my voice recorder on camera. Imagine what they do off camera. And they're trying to prevent that. That's the whole secrecy part of it. They're trying to keep the media as limited as possible, as well as preventing us from looking into records. I think I have to file some stuff today. I'll wait till about 2, right? I want to wait. I got a couple of things I want to file. I filed my subpoena today, asking for Officer Miller. I walked down to the police station to ask for Officer Miller, because he's my star witness. All right, here Davis is the prosecutor's star witness. It's clear he called him. Miller's my star witness. And I would take favors too. I'd be happy to take favors. I don't really care about the librarians. If they want to call them. I'll do my cross exam on them, but I don't really care. It's those are the librarians only got the cops there. That's it. Keep it simple.
One of the parties involved is in a room, Yukon XL. I'm gonna go ahead and get medical. She said, complain about her head is hurt.
Her head is hurt. I was sitting here last night. There's a lady saying, "I'm gonna beat your butt," and yelling and saying some aggressive things. It sounded like there was a fight, and then they were about to fight again. And it could have been far away because their voices are pretty loud around here. Do you keep a pad and pen on your person? Please show me. Are you required to keep it? Yeah, tricks are the trick. Tricks are the unwritten strategies. Tricks are what they use that have no written rules to them. And they're done in motions. Tricking you with motions, waiting till the last minute or something. Tricking you in the court during hearings. I mean, there's a lot you could call these lawyers out on in the courtroom, that you got to be very alert and ready to talk. Let me just. Sovereign Big Sven? Oh, thank you, Chevy. Thank you, Chevy. I appreciate that. They love that stick figure. A stick figure? You mean the voodoo dolls? Do you have... Yeah, I need a voodoo doll for Clyde. I have to prove... I don't see any voodoo... You think, like, you get far enough south around here, you think they'd have, like, a voodoo doll store. They might in other cities. You think that might be kind of popular with tourists? Something fun to play, a fun idea to play around with. The voodoo doll and selling shrunken heads and stuff. You think that'd be something fun to play with the culture around here, but I'm not sure. I'm not seeing it around here, and I'm definitely not going any further south now. Do you ask for ID from Do you ask for ID from everybody who calls you and you get a call on? Are you required to carry a pen and paper? And a lot of police departments, see if I could see that policy. You know, I can't say I've ever seen it on other police policies about the pen and paper thing, but I remember back in my training, it was recommended to carry a pen and paper. It's a useful item to have to write information down on. And I don't know if it's really required. I haven't seen it in any police policies, so the policies wouldn't really tell me. Suspicion is subjective. Yeah, there's nothing to argue with suspicion at all. Cloyd's ugly heart will be his own downfall. Yeah, what's the deal with that guy? He's obviously comfortable in his ways. Thank you, Dorothy Kirby. Please be safe. Yeah, I'm trying. It seems relatively safe here, but I mean, I could be surprised. Here's, oh no, not IVFS. Must prosecution choose. Your detention would be, oh, okay, yeah, all right, there you go. Good question. RAS, reasonable, articulable suspicion. So, yeah, what crime, let's see, this is a question.
80.
Yeah, do you...
C511, 580, Louisiana, right here at Hilltop. Check validation on Louisiana Class E, Echo.
Do you ever communicate a crime before you demand ID? Officer Davis, have you ever communicated a crime to the victim before you demanded their ID. All right, and if he says yes, okay, well, what's the crime? It's just you keep going back to that. What's the crime? All right, and it's like I don't understand. I don't know why the judge or the prosecutor don't get that. They've shown that they don't get some aspects of the trial process. Telling me I need to give up incriminating evidence to my prosecutor, even if I'm not going to bring it to court to use, I still have to give up evidence. It's like, I mean, they've clearly told. That's a big one too. That's a big mark. They seem to have walked back that demand.
167 coming back to a Jerry Bruno of Youngsville status is valid. It's gonna be a 2001 GMC pickup, white in color.
See, Jerry Brewer, we got a name. All right, they're telling us names on the radio, and they're trying to. And the Judge Owsley, city court judge, is telling me even a name. I could look up Jerry Brewer now. They're just throwing names out. The cops stopped them. And it's okay. It's okay for the cops just to throw your name out on the radio around. And this is a public access radio if you got the right equipment. What's that? Some people were joking about this courthouse issue with David. He was saying I have reproduction equipment. As I was walking out the doors, he followed me out of the building, but he kind of stopped to tell the metal detector guard he's got reproductive equipment. And like he wanted the guard to stop me, because, and this is the same guard that let me in with my stuff. It's like, oh man, where did he find it? Was he hiding it in the courthouse somewhere? It is a suspicion. Ask them when they form reasonable. Yeah, what do they form? What facts? Yeah, it's all. It all comes down to, everything is irrelevant up until the point of detainment. Everything is irrelevant as far as I'm concerned, up to the point of detainment. Like whatever the librarians thought or felt, I'm objecting to. All right, I think that's pretty clear. I'm objecting to everything up until the point of arrest. Let's get to the point, Prosecutor Benjamin. He's got a locked gate. Okay, thanks for stopping, Trish. Yeah, I'm almost an hour in. It's become crystal clear to me that we don't have rights. Well, you got to fight for those rights, but they'll still push back even when you fight. Is a man under arrest when he's asked for ID or not? The answer is yes. Then what was the crime? Under detainment. And a cop may ask for ID. A cop may stop at you. A cop may ask for ID, but a cop must tell you your rights. So they've elected to stop. They've elected to ask, to demand ID. And now that they've made that choice, they have to make clear what their intentions are. And they use non-criminal reasons. They used non-criminal reasons to give me. They told me non-criminal reasons on camera, and then cited the ID law. And I mean, the ID law doesn't stand on its own. It has to be supported by a crime, and that's what Cloyd is arguing. I was suspicious, and I matched the description. I mean, if he wants to bring new stuff in to his arguments, I mean, that's...
The person that you were speaking of on the south side, he rents the acres next to the house for his cattle. The owner of the house advised that he was okay to be there.
Oh, good. The owner gave him permission to be there. That is so generous.
The owner of the house contacted him.
Yeah, the law isn't favoring the common people. They don't give you a chance to have a jury of your peers. Like you don't get a jury of your peers. If you're facing 6 months, you don't even get a jury of your peers. Your peers are that judge. A doctor's appointment. So you have to, and I've had 4 hearings now with this judge, and I'm learning who he is. I'm learning who this person is. I guess as well as they're learning who I am. They sound reluctant to let that guy go, even though he has permission to be there. Oh, about the guy that's gotten permission on the property but the owner is given permission. Still suspicious, has to be based on a crime. Yeah, criminal suspicion. Yeah, Turner Driver District Courts cannot. Well, the city judge can't learn everything. Since the city judge is limited in his jurisdiction, his power, he can be limited on his knowledge of the law too, because he's making decisions that have less impact than the district judges. But still, 6 months of jail. He's got a power to convict, to sentence people to 6 months of jail. That is a lot. That's a lot of power. So you can't downplay the amount of power he has. That's a lot of power to really take 6 months off of somebody's life like that. Still suspicious, has to be based on a crime. Yep, that's suspicious stuff. Suspicious is objection irrelevant. Objection irrelevant. Every time, I don't know what I could just only listen for the word suspicious, suspicion. I just listen for that word. I don't even need to know the context.
I was able to advise one of the vehicles was a FedEx truck.
That'll be like a sneeze for me. As soon as I hear something about suspicion, I'll be like, objection. Suspicion, objection. Suspicion, objection. That's what happens. You don't even need to know the full sentence. You don't even need to let them complete their sentence. As soon as you hear something about suspicion, objection. That's pretty clear.
28's down for me.
Your crime was not being polite to the library. That's right. It was a politeness issue.
561 Foxtrot Charlie Lima. 561 Foxtrot Charlie Lima.
FCL?
Zulu 293014. Zulu 293014.
All right.
And
yeah, can reason
9972 Yankee 359972 all over
Damn.
Louisiana. I don't need a return on them.
All right, you don't get a return then. So yeah, can reasonable articulable suspicion dissipate? Can you be suspicious of something and then the suspicion goes away on its own? Yeah, don't most adults. Yeah, he's got reproductive equipment. That's what the clerk of courts, the elected clerk of courts officials accused me of having. Check him. He's got reproductive equipment. We got to check him out. So yeah, reasonable. Your suspicions.
Example, that's going to be Manuel Adams, white male, 4'3". I'm sorry. Correction, 413 of 88. It's going to be a Daniel Adams, white male, 413 of 88.
We just gave away his birthday and his name. So we just revealed this guy. now I'm gonna get in trouble because the cops are revealing people on YouTube.
Trauma 4 negative.
So I got what 77. How many trolls are gonna be reporting this now to Prosecutor Benjamin?
We're gonna be around to that call by the UPS station.
Except sending out deputies to personally serve papers. Once we're polite, that makes everything that you see. That's the thing. These cops need, if they're gonna be reporting private information, they need to do that on another encrypted channel. Only keep a channel for public that doesn't have private, that they don't communicate private information on. They can work with that, but I mean, this is crazy. They don't exist to keep the public safe from criminals. They exist to criminalize the public. Yeah, I think cops are going around shooting their guns off in town. Some criminals, but some cops. And I got close to catching one cop in Del Rio, Texas, because he went behind the Walmart and fired off his gun. I mean, and then I had a video about when I walked back there, some other cops showed up and thought I was the one shooting the bullets because this cop was called. I could still smell the gun smoke. Do you ask for ID from everybody who calls you? Did the cops ask ID from the librarian who called? I didn't. I was watching. I didn't see them exchange any ID. Instead, they came straight for me, the weird guy, and arrested me over my ID. Arrest the librarian for her ID. Librarians are wildly imaginative people. They read a lot of books. Which officer did you see talking to the librarian in the parking lot? Yeah, that'd be Officer Davis. Officer Favors was running across the parking lot thinking that I was casing the library from the outside. Once this is over, if you want to stay there for investigative, I'll pay an apartment for you for 6 months. 6 months. Yeah, there's nothing else to investigate. It's going to get too hot. I need to move north. It's going to be in the 80s in the next couple of days. It's getting warm right now. I can't deal with the heat that well. Louisiana has 90 days of 90-degree weather through the summer. Every day is guaranteed to be above 90 at some level. I need to get up north. You offended the librarian. The cops came, questioned you first to investigate. When you failed, they arrested you. All right. Oh, here's the troll. Get civil rights. Okay. More legal advice. Does that counts as legal advice when I'm told to get a lawyer? So you're giving me legal advice. All right. So have you ever arrested a non-English speaker who didn't understand that you asked for their ID? How about a deaf person? Have you ever asked a deaf person for their ID and then had to arrest them because they couldn't hear you? Have you ever asked a mentally impaired person for their ID and because they didn't understand what you were asking, you had to arrest them? Low ground and shade. Lower the
through the state of Texas for unauthorized use of a vehicle. It's going to be limited extradition only. They will not extradite this far out. No extradition.
Oh, he got off. He's lucky. They're not willing to extradite so far. You should run. A lot of people do run around here. Prosecutors not used to people who don't run. And I'm a traveler. You'd think I would naturally just want to run. But I'm a traveler who uses social media. There's different kinds of travelers. I'm not a train hopper, just comes here, gets an arrest, and then hops the next train out. I'm also trying to maintain a respectable reputation as well, as best I can. He gave his name, and that was given 60 seconds. Yeah. What is the timer do they have internal timers? What do the police policies say about how long you get to like identify yourself? What's the timer on that? What's the exigent circumstances?
7918.
Yeah, librarians, they didn't say we got we were like imagining all this bad stuff from this guy from our books. They mentioned like the news.
1811.
I was acting weird, and I could have had, he was thinking I could have had guns in my bags. So I could have shot up the library. 2 patrons in the library. I come to shoot it all up. Shoot all the books. I was gonna cast a lot of violence upon those books with my it seems like the common weapon around here is the AR-15. An AR-15 has been found in the past 2 police car chases. I suspect that the cops are planting those AR-15s because cops carry AR-15s.
Louisiana 28 Zulu 232 669 Zulu 232 669 is going to be the FedEx truck.
I mean, not only am I experiencing personally some very sketchy behavior by the cops, but in the news on their Facebook, I mean, I see things, information that's very sketchy as well. The guns were not mentioned to the cops at the library. Why not? Oh, his imagination. If you walked in with a church's bag, you would have been good to go. A church's bag? Oh, if I looked like I was delivering some food. Yeah, what's the matter with my bags? I had this one on my back, and you could actually, and they may not have noticed, but I have my name on it too. So it's pretty big. I haven't lately with my new bags, but try to embroider my name somewhere on the bag so that I can identify it. It's more personal. But embroidering takes time, so I can't, and I have to sit like this, and I don't like doing this. I gotta get up more. But if I had more comfortable seating arrangements, then yeah, I'd probably get back in the embroidering. There was no chickens in my bag. Yeah, I needed the smell of chicken to help calm them down. All right. Maybe also part of the reason why they arrested me is because they smelled me, and they didn't like what they smelled. It wasn't just a visual thing. And if they would have smelt some chicken, maybe that would have calmed, like bees. When a beekeeper sprays the smoke on the beehive to calm the bees down so that this beekeeper can get the honey. You got to do it with cops. Either maybe the smell of donuts or chicken or both. Maybe they both smell good together. You got to appease their other senses, not just their visual abilities. M&M audits. Good to see you. Thank you. The librarian has never experienced someone unloading a book bag in the library. And that's the thing too. I don't know if I should be recording like the circumstances here.
FedEx truck's going to be driven by Louisiana class Echo 11770 084 11770
Yeah.
084.
218.1. I'm memorizing that. That's pretty good. I mean, not there's more than one law that kicks into this arrest scenario. It's not just the cop's statute, this cop's arrest thing. It's not just LRAS 14108. There's also your rights, that your legal rights that kick in too. Your Article 1, Section 5 of the Louisiana Constitution, right to be in my secure property and our criminal of code procedure 215.1. Oh, I was saying police. I just saying that police may stop someone and may demand ID, but they shall tell you your rights. Okay, so they can elect to stop you, elect to demand ID, but they shall tell you your rights. And then criminal code of procedure are the rights. So there's more than just Louisiana laws revised statutes 14108. There's, I mean, but when they make their charges, they don't want to mention your civil rights, the laws involving your civil rights. Oh no, that's something up for the courts to bring up. And of course, not on the prosecutor's side. The prosecutor, the only exculpatory issues the prosecutor has to reveal are in the evidence. They have to give you all evidence, whether there's exculpatory parts or not. But when it comes to arguing the law, they don't have to argue exculpatory law, only exculpatory evidence. So it's up to your defense to pull everything else. You got to pull everything else that's related to your arrest. All right, you don't just argue about this statute resisting an officer, and you can't. There's parts of it that are arguable about you needing a crime before detainment, but there's also other laws that kick in as well that have to be considered. Persons, duties, privileges. The proof you have is your video. And that's the thing. It seems like the prosecutor's probably not going to bring out my video. He's probably not going to use the body cam video, so I have to introduce it. And I think the only way I can introduce the video is on cross-examination with Officer Davis. I mean, that seems to be the only way. I guess I could try. It sounds like the prosecutor's just going to launch into his arguments, and then he's going to examine Officer Davis, and then rest his case. That's it. So then he's probably it doesn't work in his favor to play the video, the body cam video. Yeah, the anti-fuck kicked me out. I say you had to be under arrest at the time they asked for ID. Yeah, something like that. If you get a lawyer, it will scare them off, brings attention on them. A lawyer brings attention on them? Well, which lawyer? I think it depends on the lawyer. There's some dirty lawyers around here. They do have to explain to the court their basis for arrest. Yeah, that'll be the opening statements, maybe. But other laws kick in, so there are other factors to be concerned about. They only want to focus. The prosecution don't want to discuss any other laws that are applicable that work in my favor in this case. They only want to talk about the law I broke and how bad that was. How there's victims, how there's damage to the city. What? Oh, this is getting warm. This will probably be the last day I can do a live stream, because this next few days are going to really get hot, and then this camera won't be able to handle it. It's starting to get warm now. 11:30, it's starting to get warm. Your basis will be the supporters. Oh, the porn, yeah. That'll be interesting to see how that is brought up as an afterthought by Officer Davis. I'm calling in the other two officers, and I made another subpoena. Got to give them the new date, and I made an effort to try to meet Officer Miller on camera. I want to do that, and then also I should meet favors too. I went to the police station today and I found out Officer Miller has the weekend off. But maybe I could run into him in the city somewhere. Who knows? Maybe at Walmart. I could run into him at Walmart and tell him that he's invited to my court hearing, my trial on April 11th. Either way, I hear he's coming back. I was told he comes back on Monday, so I'm going to ask for him again. I want to meet him personally and say, I have a subpoena for you, and I'd like for you to come to my trial, and we can talk about this. Because, yeah, once again, the prosecutor's star witness is Officer Davis. That's the only person they're calling. Because maybe, and he's going to use the argument that the librarians are too scared of me, so they're not gonna testify. And the judge is eating that argument up, that the librarians are too scared of me. I don't even know if they need to bring up any porn charges, because making a case with the judge that the librarians are too scared of me is something they're working on. You told him to make his story sound good. Oh boy, did he ever do that. But why he never charged you? Who's making a story that's good? Why even bother arresting a guy sleeping in his car? Yeah, I don't know if I've ever been. I guess you could say I've been arrested once for while sleeping in my car. I was woken up and given a ticket, but.
Escorting him or someone else is?
But
10-4, I'll be 10-5ing him to the location. He's meeting one of his friends there.
He's escorting somebody. A 10-5. I think a 10-8 is that they're taking him to the jail. It's seems like I don't know the codes that well. He's 10-5ing him. They need to prove that they are scared and why. They actually should testify that they're scared. It's an empty argument for my prosecutor to just argue that they're scared. We need proof of that the librarians are scared, and that requires evidence. So, yeah, that is something to bring up, because that's more my concern is it's not the porn, it's the fear factor that the prosecutors is painting. Because fear is something that
the FedEx ground truck is loaded. You don't know how much it weighs.
You don't know how much a FedEx truck weighs. You think like a cop, that's why you're already lost. Okay. Preying on marginal. Alright, yeah, it's getting a little warm. I've been on here a while. I'll probably go. I made some arguments.
On Kilo 01039734 up Kansas.
Do you feel that you communicated enough RAS by saying I matched the description and we got a call to demand ID? In what kind of situation do you think it's not important to communicate a crime and just demand ID from someone? Is collecting an ID considered detainment? If you don't collect the ID, how else can you detain someone? Are handcuffs the only other option? How fast can you memorize a name? What is the longest period of time that you have memorized a name? Do you agree that you cannot enforce 14108 if you already have the person's name committed to your memory? If they already knew who the person was, then they can't arrest them. If they met them a month ago and they remembered their name, they can't just arrest them because they didn't give a name. Because the cop should have a cop has met them before. This this 14108 is a first encounter statute. It's a statute that a cops use against people they encounter for the first time, because after the first time, then the victim can argue that, hey, we met before, the cop should remember me, right? But then, you know, the cop may say, oh, I don't remember you or something. I meet hundreds of people a day or something. But then it goes to what names do they remember? Because they're going to remember. Some people are going to stand out a little more than others. So they're using bias. And I mean, they called me Claiborne. They remember this name Claiborne, or Claiborne, and associated me with that. I don't understand why. That's something I would like to ask about, but I don't know how to. Yeah, there's impound. Yeah, and now I'm trying to help them remember who I am. But they're getting offended by that. They're getting scared by that. It's like, okay, you want to know who I am? I make myself available to the public, but I get insulted when they disrespect me the way they talk to me on arrest day. It was so disrespectful, and I wanted to give them time by me understanding where they're coming from to explain themselves. But it didn't quite work out the way I had hoped. Estoppel? I don't even know if that city has an ordinance for that same, where they arrested you under this, but doesn't state you need to actually ID. The city has an arrest? Can you email that to me? I didn't even look at the city ordinance for that. Yeah, a lot of cities will have their ordinance. They totally ignored the city ordinance on that, huh? There was some guy talking about how the liquor stores, you get more privacy rights at the liquor store than the library, because now there's some law that they called unconstitutional, where cops could pat you down if you're like within 50 feet of a liquor store. They pat you down for guns, but that's been called unconstitutional. But you go to the library, they can pat you down. All right, you got more rights at the liquor store than the library. I found that interesting, and the dude emailed it. If you want to email me, you can email that.
At the St. Anthony Catholic Church. The other one is 300 Lakeview Drive, apartment 4504 for nosebleed.
A nosebleed. St. Anthony Church, there's somebody who suffered a stroke. Probably this heat that's increasing. All right, I'm going to stop this then. Yeah, thanks for visiting, and yeah, continue on.